Thank you all and welcome for connecting to this fourth module of Emma Academy. We will wait for a few minutes time to give other journalists the opportunity to join us and we will begin with this session. Today, you will note that this session will be in French. So for our English brothers, you are invited to move on the interpretation on the English channel for you to get access to the content. Thank you.
Ok. Merci à
Thank
tous.
you to you all and to each of you. Again, I greet you and welcome to this fourth session of MA Academy for this module number 4. and it is entitled Artificial Intelligence and Open Banking at Fintech. Today, we are with Mrs. Jiba Diallo, Senior Financial Advisor at EcoBank. She's responsible for fintech. She will tell us and give us an overview on artificial intelligence and open banking. Quickly, before beginning this session, I know we already used to the housekeeping rules. As you know, the mics are off, but you have the opportunities to send your questions in the question and answers box. We will take your questions at the end of the presentation of Mrs. Jallo, and she will also have the opportunity to answer your concerns or your questions. And also, we would like to tell you that this session is recorded. You will have it both in French and English. So at the end of the training, you will have this training available on the AMA Academy platform. And we now inviting you to also complete your quizzes, and these are the quizzes that will help in measuring the progression of each participant, and also to help to those that will answer these quizzes for, so that we can help in getting the reward for the fintech. So I will now give the floor to Jiba, senior financial advisor at EcoBank. Thank you, Jiba, for being with us, and you now have the floor. Morning, Eric, and thank you for hosting me on this platform, on this virtual platform. As Eric has said, I'm Mrs. Jiba Diallo, the senior financial advisor at EcoBank, working on strategies with we putting and executing strategy to facilitate partnerships between fintechs and EcoBank. So today I will talk about artificial intelligence and open banking, but more precisely how these two domains are applied in our environment, which is, I will begin by defining what is artificial intelligence. There are so many ways to define this this term or this particular technology. If I have to define it from my experiences, artificial intelligence is the capacity that is given to computers to be able to analyze from a number of data and to also take actions or implement actions on basis of their own analysis. So if we have to sum up, it is the capacity the computers have of emitting of copying human behaviors, on basis of some data that they receive, and on basis of their analysis capacity, they can implement actions on basis that this application or this device will receive. So I will go in details. I will not be very abstract when we talk about artificial intelligence. People usually think it is very complicated, and as you go on, you will see that it is a technology where you already been interacting with without maybe knowing it. So there are many application domain when it comes to artificial intelligence. When I was saying earlier on, in many of the cases, it is a technology with which you're already in contact. If I take an example of chatbot, as you know, these tools, interaction tools that are integrated in websites. So I'm sure you've already came on a website and you open a page and you have a widget that comes and proposes you to talk or to discuss. At times you have a message asking you whether you need help or you want to talk, and they will tell you they're there to help. Behind this small widget, you might think that you are talking to a human being, but it is actually a machine, and the using the principle of artificial intelligence to function. We also have applications at the robotic level. We have many things that are happening in the robotic industry, especially in Asia and in the US. And all these robots are reinforcing the capacity of the artificial intelligence, that is able to help them in operating in an autonomous way. When you
qui sont un peu plus élaborés ou beaucoup plus élaborés, qui utilisent aussi l'intelligence artificielle. Donc aujourd'hui, on est
we
tous conscients
have all
qu'il y a une grosse adoption des
conscious
drones
that there are
pour la
so
technologie.
many things, there's a big attraction for technology in Africa, but then we also have the challenge with the language. There's an initiative that is been in place whereby they will have some natural translations, some robotic translation of some of the languages, and this will be done through artificial intelligence.
L'application, on va dire, la plus
The
poussée, c'est
application, the most
artificielle pour vraiment
evolved
avoir des outils
of this artificial, we will have tools that will help us in making decisions in many of the domains, be it in the bank or other domain. So the
est vraiment au
art-
cœur de l'innovation aussi dans
artificial
aujourd'hui
is at the heart
dans l'informatique. En
of
réalité,
innovation when we talk
c'est une technologie
about
qui existe
technology. This is a
depuis
technology
longtemps,
that is
qui a
been there for some time,
été
but then
développée
it
de plus en
is
plus. Et on va voir
becoming more democrat,
contribue à
and it is
améliorer
contributing in helping the conditions of
aussi
livelihood
améliorer nos
and
capacités
also
de
in refining our capacity of provision
et
and
ensuite, on
decision.
va voir en fait
So we will also look at this, and we will look at some of the practical cases of applications of the artificial intelligence which helps in decision making.
l'intelligence artificielle, on est
So the artificial intelligence, we are at the beginning of its capacity.
et plus nous
The more we move forward, the more we realize that it is a technology which can help
de choses et comme on le
in
voit
doing many things, as we said, in the technology domain.
dans le domaine de
The more we move forward, the more we realize that it has extraordinary capacity that will help us to discover.
je parlais tout à l'heure
I was talking earlier on of its application domain, talking about the artificial intelligence. I gave some example earlier on. If I take automobiles, for example, you have seen videos, and we have more and more automatic, intelligent vehicles that run without any human assistance. You are in the vehicle, but you're not doing anything. All you do is to run the vehicle, and the automobile is capable of detecting obstacles in its environment, and also to identify the address where you are going, and be able to identify what is the shortest way to your address. So these are also some of the applications domain today on the market. We've not yet seen these automobiles around us, but the artificial intelligence has shown that it is possible. And there are more and more manufacturers that are exploring these options to be able to make these options available. In many of the factories, where we have manufacturing or production chains, when some of the equipments are malfunctioning, we use artificial intelligence to help in detecting these products so that it should not get to the market. And again, in the finance department, we will also see in a concrete way how the artificial intelligence also is helping.
Si tu permets,
If you
j'ai
allow,
des amis anglophones qui
we
parfois
have our
l'interprète
English brothers.
est un peu trop rapide.
If you could just slow down and give the interpretation to also follow up. One of the main points which we need to consider, we're not talking about it when we talk about intelligence, artificial intelligence, it is data. And the reason why it is exploding at this moment is because we've gotten to an era where data are expanding, and also our capacity of capturing this data. In my introduction, I said that the AI is the capacity of the machine to collect information and to also use an algorithm based on the data that is collected and be able to take a decision or an action. So in the year 80 or 90, before we got to 2000, the information system allowed us to only handle data. We did not have the explosion that we are assisting nowadays. But by the year 2000, with the internet coming in and the access that we have to the cloud system, we've seen that there are more and more systems that helps in decision making. With the amount of data that is collected by the system, we've seen the capacity of allowing individuals to uh, the apps have given human beings to make analysis that are more sophisticated, so that we human beings, we can also take actions and decisions that are adequate with regards to the information that we're receiving. With the explosion of data, we noticing that computers and systems and these AI systems are collecting many data to help in refining the decision process, and also so that there should not be any human interruption, and to support the fact that there is a AI system. It is the base of this technology. Is that a few years back, companies that were considered the most prolific companies in the world were most of the time in the domain of energy or gas or petrol. But today, the industries that are whereby we have extraordinary profile, it is the companies that are working with data and technology. And the reason is this important is because by collecting this data, it allows companies, third companies, to use this data and be able to take decisions, but also to also refine their marketing strategies to be able to reach their targets. And this is thanks to the AI system. And this is something important that you need to consider. Again, it is because of data, we came to understand and discover artificial intelligence to also help the system to explode. Still, you're very fast, ma'am. You're still speaking very fast.
Oui, merci, c'est bon.
Still. So now, to be more concrete on the application of the AI, we have a list in a global way of all that was identified as its application domain, talking about the artificial intelligence. I will concentrate on the most used in the African context. I talked about chatbots and also robot advisors. Today, these chatbots are trendings and are current. We interact more nowadays with chatbots and robot advisors. I will give concrete examples as we move. As a bank, there are numbers of banks that have systems of artificial intelligence that they made available to their clients to allow their clients, instead of them coming to the bank offices for operations, they can interact with these robots. The artificial intelligence also allow in improving the customer service. By collecting data today, we see that more systems that on basis of the data that are collecting on their customers, and also on basis of their customer behavior, they are able to take some initiatives, for instance, of promoting specific services that will respond to the needs of these clients. And this again in helping improve their productions. We also have the key KYC checks as financial institutions, banks. We are very close to everything that has to do with regulations and other processes that are mandatory by the central bank. And one of the processes is that before allowing financial transactions or an opening of an account, there is a KYC system. It is a verification process which helps and which must be implemented by the bank to be able to run these operations. And today, this AI system is helping us to do these verifications of these individuals that would like to interact with the bank instead of it being manual. The analysis of the data is one of the first application which is done in the artificial domain to be able to give an orientation to the bank decision. Another one which is very important for the African aspect, it is the credit scoring or the risk underwriting. The capacity of individual to be able to go for loans or credits. If you're Togolese national, if you go for a loan, if you go to your advisor, we will do an analysis and then we'll send it to the risk and the internal control. And these teams, on basis of the information that they've collected or on basis of everything they know about you as a client, they will be able to give instructions on the validations of a credit and also the number of credit that they can give you. And today we have so many tools, so many AI tools that can help in running the automation of this and to also give some sort of automatic loans credits at a micro level for individuals. And again, there's a great need for this on the African continent. Let me again stay a little bit on this slide and talk a little bit about credit scoring. I will give precise example. It came a time where I took part in a workshop where we were talking about the application domain of the AI, and we have a company that shared its experience on basis of the data that they collected from their clients. They realized that there's a category of their clients. It is a bank which in the domain, in the rural area where we have clients with very low income, and they realized that there is a category of their clients that were asking for loans in the morning and that will pay back the sum on which they agreed with the bank in the afternoon or in the evening. So when they began asking about this data, they realized that most of the people asking for this loan were women, and they came to realize that these women would come for money and they would go in remote areas to buy vegetables, and they will come to their neighborhood and sell. And this is very common in Africa. We see so many people in the neighborhood selling vegetables, and thanks to their credit scoring, they could easily help these women that will get up early and go for credits in the morning. They will go for $2 or $10 or 20, and this will help them run their activities in the morning, and in the evening they could come and pay back. And they will come later on to continue. But again, this is one of the concrete domain of the AI application in our African context. What is the open banking?
Donc, c'est un système d'ouverture de la banque Donc, en résumé, c'est une méthodologie en fait qui
It is a
permet
method that is used by the bank
s'associer avec des
to
entreprises
associate with external companies
fournir des services technologiques innovants.
to be able
La
to
capacité
supply technology
des
services.
sociétés externes de
And again,
pouvoir
this is the opportunity given to external companies to integrate with other
servir leurs clients. Et
banking technology and be able to serve their clients. So
c'est une technologie que vous
it is a
utilisez
technology which we use almost every day without knowing.
L'open banking est beaucoup
So
basé
the
sur ce qu'on
open
appelle
banking is based on the API. The API, again, this is the application platform interface. These are interfaces
application programming interface. Pardon. Donc, ce sont des interfaces de programmation d'applications.
that are structured
Ce sont des ponts
and helps in programs. And again, these are accounts that are open
un château.
and uses the bank.
Ce sont des ponts que de temps en
These are like bridges that the bank often uses
temps, entreprises ou des organisations
to help companies or organizations that are externals to be able to communicate with the technology, the bank technology, and be able also to somehow make available some services. An example of open banking, if you go to a website, if you need to schedule your visa in a specific embassy, or you want to buy online, or you want to make a hotel reservation,
de payer par carte bancaire.
at times you have the possibility of paying via your
Vous vous contentez de mettre
bank card.
l'information de votre carte bancaire,
You will put your bank
et la transaction.
info and the
Ce qui se passe derrière,
number, but what happened is that the bank processes, it is the bank that processes this transaction, allowing this interface opening to other third-party companies to help these transactions to be able to run these services.
les banques centrales, en fait, imposent ce type de technologie pour pouvoir permettre des transactions financières de façon digitale. Il
And
faut
again,
qu'il y ait
this is to help in
un exemple concret.
running some digital services. And again, this is a concrete example of open banking.
L'indice 2022 de
Again,
Mastercard,
what are the
dont je parlais,
results for 2022? Mastercard has concrete figures on this. And again, as you know, Mastercards allows transactions online. Most of the time, people do not know when they go for an online transaction. They do not know that this is an open banking. But again, this is a concrete example of what is going on. So what does it allow us to do? It gives bank to open services and also increase their service panel. It also allows clients to be able to use services that are innovative, to be able to run financial operations without going directly through with the bank. It also gives the consumers to have more control of their finances. And again, the fintech, which allows using other tools that are related to AI or other simplified tools, allowing clients to control their finances. And also it allows to offer more digital services to clients by opening technological platforms where banks have invested in and where there are other aspects that, I mean, all the various aspects that are taken into account to allow these financial transactions to happen. What are the inconveniences of the open banking? And again, as mentioned, it is the regulatory framework. The central bank will allow banks to open their system to allow these financial transactions, but there are conditions that are mandatory. As I given an example of online shopping, if you go for an online shopping, there's a bank which will allow you to run these transactions, but between the bank and the website, there's a fintech that is generally is helping being the interface between the bank and the online service. And usually they will ask, most of the central banks will ask for certification. And again, the aim is to secure transactions so that you as users, your data should not be in the hand of people that could wrongly use it. So the open banking also, one of its resistant element, since banks are traditional industries, before integrating to a bank system, you need to go through a lot of processes, which is quite normal to, again, be able to ensure the security of data and also of the finance of the people that are using it. And the security of transaction is something which is fundamental. You need to be able to take into account. As bank at EcoBank, we want to do open banking, but we also want to make sure that all the companies that are connecting to our systems, they should respect what is established as regulations by central bank and other organizations or financial institutions. We understand that it is important for us to adapt to the reality, the present reality, and also to be able to ensure security and also to allow for open bank to take place. And again, in this, there are many initiatives that started, especially with some of the central bank. We have the Central Bank of Ghana have opened sidebox. So this is a space which allows companies, fintech companies, to be able to get access to the central bank system and to run tests in a secure environment. So the central bank should be able to confirm that the fintech service wants to offer to its client will be a secured service, and it will be operational at a specific standard before allowing this to go on the market. And there are so many other initiatives in Nigeria, in Kenya, so many other central banks that are allowing all the fintech, especially looking at the boom in the startup in Africa, to be able to run tests in a secure environment before they can move on the market. And what this allows us to do is that if the bank central identify risks, they will inform the company or the to take all the corrective measures to be able to reduce the risk before they can go on the market and make these services available. At EcoBank, we also have a sandbox which was opened about 2 years ago to help fintechs to connect or to allow other institutions to also connect to our API and also be able to run tests so that we, at our level, we can verify that their system are functioning, since it will be operating in a secure environment before they can go live on the market. So we published so many API which allow the card payment. I spoke about it, the possibility of paying, uh, the possibility also having data on the statements of your accounts, you as a user. We also have API that helps in doing payments via banking transfer or payments via other utility services that allows you, for instance, to cater for electricity or for water. And we also have an API which is called Express Cash. So Express Cash, it is a product which has been there for so many years, and it allows client of EcoBank, if they want to send money to a third party, via their mobile application. They can create a code which will be sent to the person they would like to send these funds to, and the code is shared with the person to whom these funds will be shared, and the person can use the code to be able to access their money in a specific ATM or in other express cash agencies. We integrated this with one of the fintech in Togo, which allows and developed a system which allows in the management of mobile money accounts from WhatsApp. And by integrating this API, the Express Cash, this fintech allow its client to be able to get money from their wallet, to get this money on their ATM, on the EcoBank ATM machines. So the framework of the use is that the clients of this fintech, what they did was they wanted to get money from the wallet, but at a time when they want to get the money, usually there are no agencies open late at night. So if they can use the express cash service, they can create a ticket, or they can go themselves to withdraw this money at the ATM. They can share the information with somebody that can go and withdraw. So these are concrete examples of open banking application which we implemented. How do fintechs use AI and open banking about cost reductions? The AI helps and helped some companies to do some analysis uh, in some of the buildings, and also be able to automatically be able on some of the spaces or zones they use the aircon be switched off. And the other example of a company, we have a company which is managing the renting of its apartments. And again, this was in Europe. They realized that there were so many people that were not paying their rent in time. By using the AI and in collecting the data that they were collecting from their clients, they could anticipate potential problems that the client could have in paying their rent, and also how they could propose solutions that will allow them to help them in paying their rents. And again, in decision making, specifically in risk profiling, I spoke about it earlier on. These women in Kenya that usually go for loans in the morning of few dollars to be able to buy and also cater for their daily use. And again, this is thanks to the AI system. These fintechs allow developing this system, and they made it available to banks. The AI also allows in improving the client service, the customer service, as we spoke about it. It also helps in enhancing cyber security via the KYC, as we spoke about earlier. It also helps to also favor anything that has to do with financial transaction. I've also given concrete examples about it earlier on. So in the case of partnership, one of the partnership that we've implemented is with a company called Jumo, has developed a system, a KYC system via the AI system. Again, when you want to open an account in some of the countries, instead of you to give your ID, your bills, like it is done in some of the banks, you can automatically do it. So Jumo connected to verification systems, ID verification system, to make available this service. Today we have the possibility in some of the countries for some clients to open accounts in banks without going physically to bank offices. Another example of partnership with Jumo, again in the frame of credit scoring with microcredit in partnership with a company called Telco. This company has access to data of its client. Jumo have made available a system of a credit scoring which analyzes data that are collected on this client, and again this data are sent to EcoBank, and in a digital and automated way EcoBank can give loans to these people on basis of the risk level in terms of credit. I also spoke about robots. We talked about chatbots. So many banks have implemented these systems, be it at the banks. At EcoBank, we have a system that is called Rafiki, digital robot working on the AI system. And again, it helps in interacting with clients in an automated way without any human action behind. Another application domain of the open banking and the AI, we also have a partnership with iPay. They're specialists in payment service for SMEs because they've integrated via the local banking. They were able to allow the proposed traders that would like to go online and do not have websites, they were able to create website for them and also to build in a payment service behind this website. And looking at the transaction level which are ran online for these SMEs, for these traders online, EcoBank digitally is using the decision system behind to be able to grant loans on these traders on basis of the financial performances. Another important element which we also need to take into account is that the open banking on the continent, most of the example of the open banking that are implemented a system via API. But to move even further, it is already happening in some of the Asian countries and in Europe. Some banks are using the principle of the open banking by giving access to data of the bank via a specific framework, allowing access to data to some external companies. The aim is to be able to use their artificial tools so that they can use all the data that the banks are collecting to be able to supply services that are highly performant. So I would like again I wanted to share these points, which is considered as the next step for local banks beyond the API. This is the opening to data and other external companies and be able to make digital services available on the continent. So to sum up, AI, as I said, it is a technology which is much more advanced, but again, it is a technology which we are interacting with on a daily basis and on which there are so many application domain, from chatbots to credit scoring to the automation of loans and the open banking, which begins with the access to digital services from banks, which allows other companies to be able to give services to their clients. And also the next step which consists in the opening and the access that people will now have to data to be able to implement new innovative services on the continent. So I'm at the end of my presentation, and I will put on some of the sources that were shared, the sources of information that were shared in this slide, and I'm available for questions.
Merci Djiba pour votre présentation. Merci d'avoir partagé votre
Thank you for
contribution
your
avec nous.
presentation. Thank you for sharing your experiences with our journalists. We will now proceed to the Q&A session. We will take questions. And during your presentation, we've received the questions from Hugues. He's a journalist from the DR Congo. He wanted to know if the AI
que présenté,
as presented
donc a plusieurs avantages.
has many advantages that we comment on.
De ce bon côté, les
Nevertheless,
inconvénients.
what
Est-ce
are
que
the
l'intelligence
disadvantages
artificielle ne
of
va pas
the
prendre le dessus
artificial
sur l'humain dans les
intelligence?
années à venir?
Will it not take
Si
over
cela arrivait,
human?
est-ce qu'il y a des mécanismes
Are
envisagés
there
pour contrecarrer
mechanisms to stop if one day they have to take over humanity? This is a very good question. I would like to on my question, and I would like to on my camera to let you know that this actually made me smile. This is a very good question. Any person that has worked in the technology innovation, we've all seen movies on AIs in the year 80s, and we were very scared. We've seen robots taking over humanity, and they began commanding us. Yes, we are thinking about it. It is very difficult for us to answer this question. It is very difficult to really predict what will happen in the future. But when we are developing an AI system, you should know it is a human being that is behind this artificial intelligence. The application that is associated is developed by a human being. So today, we are surprised to see the case of systems, of AI systems, which have behaviors that were not predicted by its builder. This is a reality, but I think that as given that these systems are developed by us humans, I think we can be confident and say that for now we have control over the AI and we hope to keep it. And again, it is very difficult for us to really, clear out these images that we've seen in movies of robots taking over humanity, but we're not at that level yet.
Oui, merci Diba
Thank
pour
you.
cette réponse.
Thank you, Jiba, for these
Nous
answers.
avons
Another
des
question coming from BCU from
qui
Ghana,
demandent
who asked to know
dans quelle mesure l'intelligence
to what extent has the AI helped
à
in
éliminer les fraudes
eliminating frauds at
et
the
à
banks and also in the financial inclusion space. I spoke about this. This is a very good question. I spoke about this. For instance, in the KYC example, before the KYC system came on the market, it was done manually. So since it was done manually, there were big risks involved of risk of errors. And thanks to the artificial systems that is associated to the KYC, this risk is almost at 0% now. But we have systems, we have anti-money laundering systems, we have anti-laundering, money laundering, and other system that could help in preventing in case there's a use, fraudulent use. For instance, in some of the concrete cases where funds are used to fund terrorism, today we have systems that are digitalized, and we know that from a human opinion, we can make mistakes. So looking and the AI systems that are developed, this system have the capacity and the intelligence. For instance, when they detect a person that was not running transactions for so many years, beginning to do transaction at a high level, they are able to alert the banks or other financial institutions to let them know that something strange is happening. How it is developed, the system can take the initiative of stopping the transactions or to give hand to the human beings to take action. But these are concrete cases of the AI used in reducing risks.
D'accord. Merci bien, Jiba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diba. Another question coming from Bonaventure
Quels
from
sont les
Togo.
enjeux de
What
l'intelligence artificielle? Et le deuxième axe,
are
c'est
the challenges with the AI?
peut-on
And
confier aujourd'hui
can we really
dans nos pays
uh,
nous donner
trust open
davantage
banking
à son utilisation
and
avec la percée
really use the advantages of its
technologique en ce
use,
moment sur
looking at the criminal rate on
nos données personnelles?
internet? the AI intelligence, I've spoken about it early on. What is interesting with the AI is that it is difficult to determine or anticipate what it could really allow us to do. The cases which is concrete to myself, it is the credit scoring, which helps in profiling. Again, it is important. The stakes are important. This allows in simplifying and accelerating decision-making process, be in banks, other application domain. The AI is at core or at heart of so many other industries. What it allows to do is that it helps in improving the capacity of human beings in the sense where these are very complex machines that helps in analyzing data so they can take good decisions. And this helps companies, for instance, to be able to optimize, as we said, to be able to optimize
J'ai parlé tout à l'heure du cas des véhicules, mais bon, ça, pour le moment, je pense que l'industrie est encore en train de se tâter. Dans le domaine des usines, très concrètement, comment est-ce que ça permet d'améliorer les performances de production d'usines? Donc, c'est un élément vraiment clé. Aujourd'hui, avec la 5G qui est en train d'arriver, une fois de plus, toujours liée aux données, et le fait qu'il y aura énormément de plus en plus
and
de
the
données.
fact that there will be many data with the 5G coming in by IT system, the best application of all its data. What we can do is to be able to apply them using the AI system. So this is a system which has great prospects, and we again seeing the tips of the iceberg. So to come back on the open banking question, as mentioned, the open banking always, when you want to open a service, you just do not open the service before or being able to integrate or to integrate a system with a bank, a central bank. We will take time to ensure that the risks are minimized to a level 0, almost, if that's possible. And the aim is to be able to protect everything that has to do with cybercrime, which is an important element when it comes to technology. This, again, as you know, a risk 0 does not exist, but a system which is implement in reducing the risk at the open banking level is that we always use a sandbox system to run the test and to make sure that the risks are minimized. And as said, we also have everything that has to all the regulations that are mandatory from central banks and all the process of verifications before giving companies the opportunity to, or fintech companies, to be able to make their solution available to the market. Thank you, Duba. Any another question from Adrian?
Another question that is coming from
She's asking to know the African company today is rooted in its culture. The African society is rooted in its culture. How can the AI can be integrated into the African culture?
Our culture.
Very good
African
question.
culture.
This is a question that
This
I would
is a very
like to
question I would
ask
like to ask
to the
that are
innovators.
innovating things.
And again, I think once more, I feel like repeating
It's like
myself,
I'm repeating myself.
but the application system which I see, which is really
System
good
I'm
because
using that
of
I would like
its
to talk
bomb,
about
again, is the credit scoring. The banking rate in Africa is
the rate
very
of school in Africa is
low
very
with
low.
the wallets. We've coming in, we've seen many people running transactions from their telephones
Having
without going
transaction
through
without
a bank system. And thanks to the data collected from these people, this is a way to run some
all
sort
these
of
people,
financial inclusion, because
these
the
financial
problem with the banks today, the reason why the credit rates are very low is because if they do not know you, they cannot determine the the rate of risk. So by applying the artificial rate, it allows, be it for banks or other fintech, to be able to include financially all these populations that do not necessarily uh, do not feel the need of a bank account or using these financial institution. And this is a very important element for the economy. We need to be able, we need to be careful for the system to be regulated. A few weeks back, the Central Bank of Kenya have taken the initiative of running a verification of all its fintechs and all the companies that were allowing digital credits, and they realized that there are so many. Upon 200, there is about just 10 that has the authorization of continuing, and they formally allowed the others to close down because they did not fit the regulatory framework. So for me, again, the application, I feel that this is one of the good applications. The other applications we also seen in the case of farmers or producers. There's a company that have developed system to be able to predict the level of production of some producers in rural areas on basis of the weather or the quality of the soil and on other information that are collected. And again, the aim behind is to make sure this population to be less vulnerable. Thanks to the data that are collected, we can realize that the productions of the producers could be less compared to the, yeah, they can go for an insurance that will help them in continue living, and they will not be exposed to all the weather frustration and other elements. So these two examples, but we can have many other examples. And again, the aim is to see how in the African context, how the AI can help in improving the livelihood of people.
D'accord, je pense que votre réponse est vraiment
I think
compréhensible et à l'aide des exemples,
your
on peut
answer
parfaitement
is
comprendre
very
l'importance de l'intelligence
understanding.
artificielle.
We come to
Quels sont
understand the
les
importance of
indicateurs dans
AI.
le domaine
Concerning Côte
ou
d'Ivoire,
ou les éléments de succès de l'intelligence
what
artificielle pour
are the
accompagner
building
la
blocks or
transformation?
success element for AI for financial institution in Côte d'Ivoire?
Excuse-moi, Eric, tu peux répéter la question?
Eric, can you come back on the
Donc,
question?
Ansem Akeko de la Côte d'Ivoire qui nous demande quels
Akiko from
sont
Côte d'Ivoire, from your
tous les
experience,
éléments de
this is the
succès
question: what are the building blocks or
liés à
success
l'établissement financier.
element of AI for a financial institution? First of all, is data. As I said, it's all about data. Secondly, it is the capacity level of the algorithm that is used. And thirdly, it is the regulation. So the data, because without the data, you may have an intelligent system. If there are no data for it to take decision, it will not serve much. And again, this system of algorithm deployment, you need to know that the artificial is based on a specific algorithm that is developed by a human. The more the algorithm is performant, the more the AI system will also be efficient. There are so many institutions proposing AI solutions, be it in politics or other. And again, it is more or less the same algorithm that are used. And looking at the level, the more your algorithm is efficient, the less, the more the level of risk will be lowered. And again, as I said, the regulatory framework which needs to be taken into account in the implementation of the algorithm and the AI, because we can still operating in a specific domain that is regulated by central banks and institutions, to make sure that we do not go beyond the regulatory frame, and also creating risk. And these are the three elements.
Merci bien, Djiba.
Thank you, Jiba.
Une question de Carmel
Another question from Carmen. She would like to know how
chatbot, par exemple,
does the implementation of chatbots, for example, contributes to the performance of a bank or the improvement of the bank customer relations? It helps in improving as client. You do not have to move. You do not need to take your telephone to call. You can simply talk to a robot. And again, looking at the chatbot case, they help in handling common cases. If, for instance, you want to know when the agencies are open, or you would like to have information on your account, or you want bank statement, you can interact with a robot or a chat box. And why is it interesting is because the answers are instant. The robot will quickly go and get information in the system and will be able to share it with you. And this is some sort of a saving for the bank. It means that we do not need to mobilize a person that will be paid to be able to answer to your problems as a client. So this allows for savings in terms of costs, operation costs, and it also allows to also win time for client, because you do not need to go or wait in a queue. You will instantly get an answer or get the information that you were looking for. So everybody's happy at the end of the day, the client and the bank itself.
D'accord, Djiba, merci.
Thank you,
Et une autre
Jiba.
question de
Another
Yves
question from Eve
Chad
Thomas from Chad,
qui demande
who would likes
comment
to
on peut
know
intégrer
how
l'intelligence
can we
artificielle dans le
integrate
journalisme
AI
et
in
comment
journalism, and how
l'intelligence artificielle peut être utile dans
AI
ce domaine.
can be useful for this specific domain. If you have a website, let me give you an example. If you have a website and you associate your running data collection, it could be the data collection could be the number of clicks that you get. You will know on your website in the day when you have more visits, for instance. You will know your peak hours. What are the articles that are the most read? Uh, and from this data, you will be able to determine, for instance, if you introduce an ad on your web, you will know what article, on which article you will have most views. And you will also know which of the people that you could use for your advertisement. You will you will also engage some proposals that are more attractive. And as a journalist, you should also be able to know what are the subjects or the themes that interest more your readers, and the hours where the readers come online, and the times where there are more visits on your website. So again, the field is wide, but the aim is to be able to say that from the data that you will collect, you should be able to engage in some decision making. And again, this is in the digital framework. The AI is associated to data, and we can get it via the digital. So you can optimize from there, optimize on your website on how you give access to your partners to be able to optimize the use of your platform. That's just an example.
Merci, Djiba. Et
Thank you,
si je
Jiba.
peux ajouter un
If I
supplément
can
sur
add
ce point,
on this
je
point,
prendrai un exemple personnel.
I will take
Moi,
a personal example.
je crée des contenus donc ici à AMA.
I create contents at AMA,
J'utilise l'intelligence
but I
artificielle
also use AI in the
pour
sense
des
where
publications
I have
pour
an
le thème sur lequel je vais écrire.
applications on
Par exemple,
themes that I would like to
une
write.
ou deux lignes
I
et
could just put in one or two
il
lines.
me fait déjà une proposition de
The
texte
tools will run some proposal of
à
text,
modifier et à
and I will just have to modify and again see how
je veux aborder donc, pour pouvoir atteindre mes
to
objectifs.
work
Donc, je
with it
trouve
and
que
reach
pour
my
les journalistes et les créateurs de
objectives.
contenu aussi, l'intelligence artificielle est intéressant et
The
c'est
AI
très
for
très
journalists
abordé
is something very
pour utiliser
interesting.
tous les
something that they could use on a daily basis. Thank you, Eric.
Nous avons une question de Stéphane Chiffreau de la Côte d'Ivoire qui nous demande, qui dit qu'il existe aujourd'hui des robots donc, qui font du trading de manière automatique grâce à l'intelligence artificielle. Donc, est-ce que les banques ont commencé à s'intéresser à cette utilisation de l'IA ou est-ce que vous êtes peut-être à la phase préliminaire?
We have robots doing tradings nowadays. Are the banks interested in these sort of transactions? We've again gone beyond the first steps where we have a solution at EcoBank of an application which allows for some countries to be able to run investments in a digital way. And the aim behind is from the user's profile, looking at its investment level and activity, we should be able to make proposals of tradings that could be beneficial to the clients. So this is something which we are exploring, and at EcoBank, we've already gone behind the first step where we already implemented a digital platform for investment with the intentions to also have some sort of advisory system available on these platforms. Mr. Nyonklo, what are the disadvantages of the AI
from Togo,
system?
what are the inconvenience of the artificial intelligence if we have?
La problématique de l'image du robot qui nous domine reste très fort dans nos esprits.
The problem related to
Personnellement, moi, c'est
the
le
robot
inconvénient que je
system
Très
is
souvent,
very
on
negative
dit
on
que
my mind.
le problème de
Most of them people say that
ça remplace des humains.
people think that artificial intelligence take the place of human being. They play certain role, but what we need to understand is that the use of intelligence artificial help us as human beings multiply our capacity. We can't hide our face. We have certain rules, certain jobs that will appear, but some also will be created. Some of them will not yet identify them. It's true that some of the activity, the job will be cancelled, by new ones will take over. So we should not see the coming of artificial intelligence as a bad event. We must see them as a new opportunity. We must adjust with to increase our capacities. Thank you, Jiva. My questions are over. I don't know if our friend journalists have questions. If we have questions, you can ask them in the box. As you are writing your questions, I would like to thank Rita for the time and the quality of the communication that we had. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with our friend journalists your knowledge in terms of artificial intelligence. I'd like to remind you that we are still continue and we are getting to our next session. Second. I will also to remember that some people would like to know what about the quiz? How do we go about the quiz on the platform of information? Every participant has received identification and password to activate it. So when we are going the quiz, we send you a mail and the presentation. In addition, we have the quiz on the platform. The registration to allow of knowledge and test your knowledge. the people will not be able to answer to the quiz are not going to participate to the quiz.
de formation et après qui débouchera sur le prix du meilleur journaliste fintech.
It's important to have this quiz to know the best journalists among you. So it's very important to go back to the information on the platform. Feel informed so that we can see how you go on. After that, we mark the people who were present to the classes.
End of program assignment. Donc voilà. Donc au devoir de fin de programme et ainsi.
And at the end of the program, we'll see if they can be qualified for the prize of the best journalist intake.
Oui, d'accord, mais cela a été fixé depuis un bout de temps. Donc, plusieurs personnes parmi vous ont pu accéder aux différents quiz. Donc, je vous en prie, je vous réitère.
As we started, it was very difficult to access the platform, and I apologize for it.
Afin de pouvoir répondre aux différents quiz. Comme ça, le système enregistrera votre progression et on pourra donc savoir qui a suivi les cours avec bonne compréhension et puis qui est éligible pour le programme de journalisme FinTech.
And we should be know who's eligible for the FinTech program. We do not have questions. We do not have any other question. Again, I would like to thank Jiba for the time. Thank you to all the participants that were with us today and those that are with us since the beginning of the program. Jiba, if you allow, we have a final question from Kamel Deo that would like to know, for remote areas where the internet access is limited, how can the AI be useful to these people? I've taken the example of producers, where we're using the AI to help in collecting data on the soil quality, on the weather of previous years, to give them assurance on how, on the quality of their harvest, when they encountered some challenges. At EcoBank, we have the FinTech Challenge, which happens every year. And last year, one of the winner is a company that made available these systems where producers could collect data. And I also spoke on the credit scoring case for the people that have telephones. They do not need smartphones. They just need classic telephone, and they're using wallets and they're running transactions on their phone. And from there, we have the possibility with the data that we're collecting to have an idea of the risk level of loans so that we should be able to give them loans. Thank you very much. The question is well answered. Thank you. We do not have other question. We will end it here. And again, thank you, Jiba. Thank you. The questions that we're receiving now, we're running out of time. We're noting the questions and she will answer via mail. Even in Lassendi, I will get the answers to your questions and get back to you. Thank you, Jiba. Thank you to you all. See you again next week for the final module, which will take into account regulation, security. We will talk about various regulations for FinTech operating in Africa. What are the security, everything that is implemented to ensure that our data are secure and that severe cyber crime should not access them. So let us meet next week, Wednesday. Enjoy your day. See you next time. Thank you to you all. Thank you to the team for the organization. I congratulate you. See you next time. Thank you.